Got my workout in for the day, so I'm good to go. Today, just in case you're wondering why I do these videos on this bike. Well, real simple. One, I want to practice what I preach. So in the Church of the Nile, there's something we call 5 elements of prosperity, and that's the basis for our religion. I don't really like to call it a religion because I feel it's more of a spiritual movement, but we're going to call it a religion for the name's sake. And what Church of the Nile focuses on is uniting all world religions, because there was a time where I thought that I had to make a choice, and I had to just pick and choose. And I never understood that. I read this book when I was a little kid called The Book of Pi. They actually made a movie on it. It's about this kid that went on a spiritual conquest to figure out which religion he wanted to be. And at the end of the book, I'm not going to go through all of it, so I ruin it, but basis of the book is that he found out that it necessarily wasn't being about one religion. It could be about learning about multiple religions and acceptance more than anything. And realizing that just by nature, because this is a big world, that we possibly all can't worship the same God. That doesn't really make sense. So maybe there's one God above all. And I base the Church of the Nile pretty much off of an ancient religion that was wiped out by the Romans, and it's called the religion of Isis, and it's ancient Egyptian religion. And the book that we read is called the Book of the Dead, and that's just one book. Again, that's kind of the foundation, but we read the Bible, we read the Quran, we read excerpts from different books of religion. We cover, my family is Buddhist on one side, so we cover some of those practices and thoughts. And what I really wanted to touch on was having people join me, because every time I've done something in my life that's been successful, including a restaurant, I just had an idea that I was like, man, I really want this barbecue. It's kind of like that Western tri-tip sandwich from Carl's Jr., but I wanted it with tri-tip. And I created it, and we made a restaurant, and it was super successful. But at the end of the day, I always thought it's funny because that's just what I wanted. I did it for myself. So really, when I created this church, this might sound selfish, but I did it for myself and my kids. I figured, if I couldn't go somewhere and get what I wanted out of religion and spirituality, then I would create it. So I created the Church of the Nile, and it's loosely also based around my father's life work, which is called Egypt's Nile is Alive. We do go through bits and pieces of that book too, because I believe that without that book and his outlook on life, I wouldn't be where I'm at spiritually. But it's not fully based off of his readings, and but I do support the cause. And I believe that without him and his book, I wouldn't have been led down this path of Egyptology and trying to understand what maybe the Egyptians understood that we didn't. And so uniting world religions and getting rid of racism, I think I'm so tired of people talking about the color of their skin, and it's just something that I totally agree with. There's really 3 main principles that if you want to join the Church of the Nile that you have to condemn. We condemn racism. We condemn the one religion theory, which means convincing somebody that their religion is right. We appreciate all religions and listen to all of them and take bits and pieces out of it that we enjoy and like. And if we don't like parts of it, then we leave it alone. But we focus on 100% connection to God. That's the main thing, minus what book you decide to read or what helps you get there. And third is something I think is a huge problem that's not addressed enough, and that is sexuality with minors. You know, I think exploiting people sexually is something that's become a real problem. And to me, it's based around capitalism, because people feel for some reason that when they make a lot of money, that gives them certain rights that maybe other people don't have. And I'm going to go into the second part of what I'm going to talk about today, and I'm trying to keep these to all under 10 minutes, which is really tough because as people know me, I'm a very long-winded person, but I'm trying to keep these condensed because I think it's hard even with 10 minutes for people's attention span. So capitalism to me is what we're fighting against, because capitalism and colonialism go hand in hand. And why I started this church again was because I wanted to get away from what I felt was being pushed on me. And by nature, by ethnicity, my dad is African American, so he is from actually a big city in Florida called Jacksonville. My mom is from England, a little city called Devon, outside of London. So I'm half biracial, kind of like President Obama, half white, half black, and I am so proud of it because I feel that it's given me a chance to really not stand on one side and really be partial. And I watch a lot of these things that are going on in America, across the world, and I've come down to figure out that a lot of it is based around capitalism and colonialism, which I'll say, one side of me, the British, we were really big on going around this world at a certain point and trying to push our values. That's what colonization is, right? We go into a country and we tell people that they're savages, or that we don't like the way that they're living, or we don't believe the God that they're believing in, and they should believe in our God. And if they don't believe in our God, well, we just might kill you, right? Well, I think it's time to start looking at some of these things that happened hundreds of years ago and realizing that maybe before people came around and started trying to colonize the world, that maybe the way they were doing things before the colonies came into town, maybe those things were right. And that's kind of where I wanted to learn about the Egypt, the religion of Isis, because I said, well, before Rome came around and pushed on everybody that they should believe in Jesus and that whole thing, what did they believe before that? And that led me to figuring out this book called the Book of the Dead, which really led me to giving 100% to God, because I started with about 30%. I call it that negotiation with God. And it took me about 6-7 months, 1% at a day, to finally give 100% of my life to God and have Him reveal Himself to me and show me what I need to be doing in life. And that's kind of what I'm doing here, right? A lot of people thought I was crazy at the time, but this was 10-15 years ago. So I've had a chance to have a family and get my life organized, because we do live in this world. And the 5 principles that we teach for the Church of the Nile, we really focus on helping people, because we feel that it's more than just going to church and feeling like you prayed for the week of sins that you led. You know, we really feel that we have to support each other and make each other whole human beings, whole people, so we can contribute to this earth. So the 5 things we focus on are spirituality, your physical, which is what I'm doing right now, working out, keeping healthy, eating right. Your financial, because I believe that everybody should be a homeowner, a landowner. You should own a piece of this land here so you can thrive and farm it or work off of it or do whatever it is, but land ownership's something that we like to teach people, and the foundation for you to be able to buy a home now is credit, so we teach people how to preserve their credit and get their credit better. We work on their emotional state so they're not sad all the time and unhappy and depressed and moping around. And we make sure that you're not overly happy too, and because you got to be really even keel. And the last is your mental, because we believe that reading is the key to your brain keeping in good shape, because just like we work out our bodies, we got to work out our brain. And if we're not reading, if we're just watching TV, we're sitting in front of the Facebook doing like this all day, that's not exercising your brain. So I'm really big on, we got to keep reading. Don't lose that, don't get into the audiobooks. It's laziness. Read. Make your brain stronger. So what we're doing is we're working on those 5 elements of prosperity, and we're trying to fight capitalism because we want to replace it with nihilism. So that's what the basis is. That's what we call what we practice. We're nihilists, and when you're a nihilist, you want to rid those 3 things that I was talking about, which is all the problems with sexual exploitation, the one religion theory, and racism. Because no one should be proud of the color of their skin. That's stupid. You could be proud of your heritage and where you've come from. And one thing we want to learn is we want to try to help African Americans, and not just African Americans, Africans all over the world, get back in touch with their ancestry. Because on my English side, I understand my ancestry very well. On my black side, I don't. And I think that that's something that's missing from our African people, and this is bigger than African American. This is something that's happened to a country. A whole continent was ripped because the colonials felt that this people were less than them. They were savages, and they could